Hello, folks. Welcome to the second game between London Conspiracy and Team Empire in this finals of the BTS European Series number 2. Let's see who can take this game. Now, Scant, do you think you mentioned that you thought there were some drafting problems? How do you think London Conspiracy need to change things up?
Well, we can see from the get-go, since Empire started
Team
the Chen this game,
Empire's
that there is
turn
going to
to
be a
pick.
jungler involved. And even though Chen is not always played, and not usually actually recently played as a greedy jungler, it's still a support that's going to get more value than a regular support. So London Conspiracy have that information available to them that, hey, the enemy team will be running a jungler. Remember last game, the Sand King was actually the last pick. This time it's the first pick. And they need to either run a jungler of their
Team
own,
Empire's
or do
turn to
something
ban.
more impactful with their supports early on. Their supports need to shut down one of the enemy cores, or need to go disrupt the jungle or something like that. I feel like you're always going to get off to a bad start if you run two supports that play very passively and the enemy team just as a
10
jungler.
seconds remaining.
That's just always going to put you at a disadvantage.
Now, if you're Team Empire, do you
5
ban out the
seconds
Bounty
remaining.
Hunter just to make sure that your Chen doesn't have that awful time that can happen sometimes with the Bounty coming into the jungle to poke at you?
Reserve time.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty likely ban. I think it's the. I mean, there's some people. I've heard some pros say that Bounty Hunter doesn't actually count to Chen. If you, the argument made is that if you prepare with sentry wards and you kill the Bounty Hunter once, like literally just once, then he can't come disrupt you anymore because you have too much of an advantage over him. But I don't know if it's that easy for Chens to just like kill bounty hunters. Like you need your other support to come help you and needs to be there at the right time. And if the bounty hunter's just not there at the time, you waste a lot of time
Dire
looking for
team
him.
ban.
So I think it's a perfectly reasonable ban if you want to protect your Chen. But it just depends on the team. Because some teams, the Chen players like, no, listen, I know how to deal with bounty hunter. Don't worry about it. In my opinion, if the bounty hunter is very very good, then it's not really up to the Chen. You should just be
10
banning it.
seconds remaining.
Yeah,
So I don't
we
know. Do you know if LC run bounty hunter?
Yeah, they
5
can.
seconds
It's not
remaining.
something it's not something I would say they pick every game, but I mean that's Bounty Hunter. You cannot pick him in
Reserve
this
time.
current meta every game. They do run the Bounty Hunter comfortably though. For Empire, I also wonder. You mentioned the telling your teammates I can handle it factor. We saw that yesterday with the Nyx Assassin coming out, which got dominated in mid. Eventually made a comeback, right? But had a really rough time in mid for about the first 25 minutes of the game. In general, had a hard time. And so we'll see if that'll happen again, where Team Empire kind of trust that one of their supports can handle it. But they have lots of options here of what to ban out. And I'm a
Team
little bit
Empire's
surprised by the
turn to
Beastmaster,
ban.
because it's something Empire could have gone with themselves to really buff up their potential push lineup.
Looks like they're just respecting the hero because they banned it in the previous game as well, right? Um, just not a hero that they want to go up against. Maybe they
10
think that Lana
seconds remaining.
Conspiracy's best playstyle involves having the Beastmaster and like hitting those timings
5
where you have
seconds
vision, you
remaining.
get pickoffs, then you push. So they banned it up both times, clearly respecting it. And
Reserve
I think,
time.
I mean, we saw Alodons yesterday actually play the Nyx in the mid lane, but I don't think it's likely to happen since they have the Invoker anyway, and FN always plays that in the mid lane. And he did reasonably well against the OD in the last game. He had a little bit of help from his Sand King being a bit threatening, but Chen's going to be even more helpful in that regard. So again, I feel like Empire are pretty happy as things stand, and it's
Yeah.
not a conspiracy. Need to show
Whoa.
us more about what their actual plan
Dire
is.
team ban.
Okay, so Team Empire really wanting to make sure that FN has a nice time. This is going to mean that Chen potentially could get bountied on. London Conspiracy do have the first pick out of this ban phase. The other nice thing about banning out the Beastmaster, of course, is, as you said, London Conspiracy, they
10
can pick it up.
seconds remaining.
And it's a hero that's hard to zone already. And with having
5
only one
seconds
support in
remaining.
lane for Empire, since the Chen may be off doing other things, could be even more difficult. Um,
Reserve time.
London Conspiracy actually
Yeah.
taken quite a bit of time to think here. Both teams have dipped into reserve time already.
So, I mean, it might be what they're thinking about is, are we going to pick the bounty hunter? Although it's not like they'd have to rush to pick it. I couldn't really see Empire picking it themselves. So if Lana Conspiracy want to pick something else and then maybe go back to the bounty, they could do that. Maybe one concern about the bounty pick for them is then they've got bounty oracles they support combo, which is like possibly a little bit awkward just in terms of like direct proper disables. Um, they banned that life stealer, so that's an interesting
Team
one.
Empire's turn
I
to
mean,
pick.
it's a pretty classic Vorst hero when he was playing carry. I don't know if Aloadance has been playing a carry lifesteal or if it would just be an off lane for Vorst because it is a classic Vorst hero and it is a hero that can be in the off lane.
We've been seeing a resurgence in the life stealer, but as you said, in the offlane or in the jungle. Also, maybe just something London Conspiracy doesn't feel like dealing up with. He can, of course, rage, not have to worry about
10
Jug or the
seconds
Fortune's
remaining.
End as much, and can be a real pain for Empire.
5
It's their
seconds
turn to
remaining.
strike. They, I obviously when this pick phase ends, we'll know if it's that full push lineup because we'll have two more heroes. But they go with the Faceless Void this time to combo up with Invoker, so there's gonna be some Chronosphere's Sunstrikes for us for our viewing pleasure.
Yeah, Void is also a really good pick with Chen because I was talking about how Lana Conspiracy's supports have pressure on them to not fall into the trap they fell in the last game, where the enemy team is a jungler and you have two supports that are passive, and so they get more value on their supports. But the problem is that Void is an offlaner that actually often demands your supports are there, kind of just sitting,
10 seconds
babysitting,
remaining.
controlling the Void, because it's an offlaner that can give a lot of trouble
5 seconds
to
remaining.
carries if it's left 1v1. I mean, Juggernaut, you can spin a bit, and then he time walks the damage off. He can get a
Reserve
poor man
time.
shield and then just start harassing you, occasionally bash you. The Void can get a lot of value, unless at least one of the supports, if not possibly both of the supports, are staying there. And so there's that kind of like tension between, are you trying to do stuff to deal with Chen or do stuff to deal with Void?
Team Empire's turn
Yeah.
to pick.
Now, London Conspiracy go back with the Tusk. This is a comfortable hero for both Kefka and Solon, so I'm not sure where it will be, although on this patch they have been playing it as a support Tusk a lot more. They have options of making stuff happen around the map here. Also, should set up for Jug well. I'm just not sure that the Tusk is as good as it used to be, right? It is a good amount of lockdown for Faceless Void, who you need to lock down for well over those 2 seconds so he doesn't backtrack everything. Just not sure it'll be enough.
I feel like the Tusk pick here is targeted at the Invoker. It's like they want to be able to threaten killing the mid lane. Tusk roams onto
Dire
it, and
team pick.
Invoker's a hero that actually really struggles to get away from that. Like maybe this game we will see early points in Wix precisely for that reason, but even then you can pick up the dust. You get the right timing on ice shards and snowball in the right position in the mid lane, and that Invoker's definitely going to go down. So it's something Empire might consider now with their last support pick, because Chen is not a hero that's gonna like TP in and save you when they start going on your mid hero. So maybe that's something they look into, a hero that could cover the mid
10
lane or a hero that
seconds
could TP to the
remaining.
mid lane. But we got to bear in mind again that if Task is going to be roaming onto that
5
mid lane,
seconds remaining.
they're not directly addressing the Chen, and there's one more support that's not at the off lane with the Void all the time.
Reserve time.
So it's a tricky situation. The one thing I like about London Conspiracy's Stun It, by the way, is that those heroes like kind of all save each other. Okay, so Juggernaut's not really saved, but he has a healing ward that heals people, and then OD can astral people, and Tusk can snowball people, and Oracle can just ulti or heal all sorts of things. So London Conspiracy have a draft that reminds me a bit of the kind of like OG Frankfurt Major, and Earthshaker being their last pick really
Team
fits into like
Empire's
all of those
turn to
heroes
pick.
can punish you for overaggression by saving each other and turning things around on you. And certainly overaggression is something that occasionally Empire can be guilty of. So we're gonna see. I mean, the concern for me would be that Empire maybe could just sit back and not be over-aggressive in this game and just get more value out of the lane stage like they did in the last game. And I don't know how that puts, what position that puts Lana
10
Conspiracy in
seconds
then if they're
remaining.
not actually going for aggression at all.
I mean, yeah, Empire have a lot of
5
options
seconds
here. They
remaining.
also can, we've seen it before where the Invoker somewhat split pushes, that you can get a lot of help there with a Chen.
Reserve
They
time.
need big Echo Slams here for London Conspiracy, and getting Empire into that position will be difficult, especially if Faceless Void is allowed to get any semblance of farm, get up the early Vlads and Blink, and then pick off one or two before the fight begins. But we'll see how exactly it
10
goes. Empire
seconds remaining.
deep in needing to pick a hero because they have 7 seconds left. It's gonna be Jakiro. This is not a support we see a whole lot, but talking of lane control, suddenly there's a lot of pressure on this Earthshaker.
Yep, Jakiro can zone out the lane. The Macropire can combo nicely with the Chronosphere. It's also kind of reasonable as a defensive support. If you get early points in Ice Path, you could see they go on your Invoker TP and Ice Path save. So I like the pick here. I don't think that I think it actually fits extremely well. It's also got that pushing potential. So Invoker Forge Spirits plus Chen Creeps plus uh the Liquid Fire, sorry, spammed onto buildings. If they get into the position where they're ahead, they could just mount a push. And Lana Conspiracy's draft to me really does feel like there's two things to it. The one is the Juggernauts and the OD can get strong in the late game. The other thing is if Empire are very aggressive early on, Lana Conspiracy have a lot of ways to save each other and turn things around. Um, So I don't know. It
Prepare
it
for
doesn't
battle.
really play. It kind of like avoids the whole thing Linux is trying to do. If Empire just go for let's have a good lane stage and then push, which I feel like that might be the approach.
Yeah, we'll see exactly what comes out. Good luck, have funds certainly have come out. Um, looking around, I don't see anything super weird item pick wise. We actually already don't have any smokes out. It's not uncommon for the Chen to start with smoke, but some teams are also a much bigger fan of having the Chen buy all of the support items since you can jungle with or without that, and then later picking up a smoke as to not reveal anything to your opponents in case the Chen gets scouted. Kefka is going to be. He's placed a ward already. A little bit unusual of a position, not the standard one. Should still see some rotations from the Chen,
30
and of course
seconds
blocks
to
out that
battle.
camp. Actually,
Yeah, with the
yeah, it does.
yeah because they have the sentry wards. They okay just placing early. This is actually something interesting to me. I feel like the safer play with your sentry wards is to wait for the 30-second mark, see which camp spawn, and then you have more information in terms of how to triangulate your sentries. So maybe just a small criticism of Fennec, like he's only been playing for support for a very little while. I don't
The
think it's
battle
optimal to place a
begins.
sentry ward before the creep spawn time.
It's something we're actually seeing a lot of players do. I don't know. I don't think we've pulled any stats on this, but even in tier 1 games, we've been seeing a lot of teams place the sentry before waiting to see if the camp is blocked. I too am surprised about it. It's a little bit odd because, of course, this camp you can generally deward this one. What's the spawn box? The spawn box is like here or something. You can deward it pretty easily. So
I mean,
with
it's
just 2 sentries.
it's not uncomplicated, right? If they did block your camp and you manage to unblock it before the first spawn, then obviously that's you've got an earlier spawn which you could pull or stack or farm. So there's that. There's also the fact that you want to be at the lane. You don't want to be like imagine Jakiro waits for the to see if the camp spawn and then looks to counter, and then that whole first wave of XP the Earthshake is unbothered. So maybe that's the biggest reason. Now that I think about it, that you just need to be busy zoning the lane at the beginning, and so you don't want to like waste that time. But even then, you could just go and do it a bit later. So I'm not too sure.
And already Kefka's taking a huge amount of harass just from this Jakiro. I was worried
Mid
about
lane.
Empire. Okay. We have a little bit of a go onto the mid laner. Invoker, he doesn't have the easiest way out of here, but in comes Chen, does have the stomp coming out. There's going to be a Sunstrike onto Sol and a lot of damage going down there. Do they have the right click? Not looking like they want to overextend for it. So both
Yeah.
sides going to get out unscathed.
So that gank is like sort of a sign of things to come. That's what I was talking about. The Invoker has nothing to do when he gets ice sharded and attacked by Odie. He has to just like run around and try and get away. And because it's such a low level, he's okay. He survives there. But if it's a level 2 Tusk and like level 4 OD, he's gonna die to those ganks all the time.
Yeah, it's not. Oh, Havos just getting some creep contest. It is not the easiest of lanes for an Invoker. We can talk about the OD versus the Invoker all day long, but of course this is what we normally end up talking about. The supporting cost, really strong coming out here for London Conspiracy, and by the time the Chen rotates, it might be too late. Something where the Chen, he does actually have the Wild Wing, so maybe he'll go to Tornado mid for a little harass?
Yeah, it's a possibility. It certainly slows down his own farm if that's what he feels the need to do. So I think more likely he
I
wants
still
to.
have the overlay on. I'm so sorry, everyone.
Well, luckily we haven't missed any kills or anything like that, so it could have been worse. But I was trading some hits with Ark on the top lane. I don't know if that's going anywhere anytime soon. It's not likely that we get a kill in that top lane unless the voice makes a very big mistake, whereas in the bot lane, Fennec actually has a DD, so that's a lot of harass damage on Kefka's Earthshaker.
Yeah, we're gonna be seeing, Kefka is already level 2, and Havost level 3. It's a little bit easier here for the Faceless Void since Time Walk is a better escape, but Kefka now has a wave pushing under his tower, so he should hit that level 3 right quick.
Yeah, so finally getting that space. While is this a it's a bottle coming 30 at the mid lane. And if we just take a moment to look at the creeps overall, it does look like Empire getting a lot more early on.
Dire's bottom
It's kind of what I
tower is under
expected,
attack.
and I'm still interested to see like one of the questions for Line of Conspiracy as we look at this bot lane is a very deep Jakiro doing some
He's just
harassment. One of the
harassing.
questions Yeah, one of the big questions for London Conspiracy is can Tusk actually succeed in making one of these kills in the Invoker, slow down the Midas acquisition? But another big question is if Empire just like outvalue them in the lane stage and then start pushing tier 1s, like what's their plan? Like I can see what their plan is if an Empire are going for kills, how they're gonna respond to that, but if Empire decide to focus on the towers.
Snowball in onto mid, the Sunstrike as well as the Cold Snap. They saw and looks to be our first blood. No uphill misses for him today. And now Baby Knight, that mid lane not going his way. When your opponent gets a kill like that, we can see FN already a full level ahead.
Yeah, and I was asking the question, is Tusk gonna succeed in killing Invoker? And when that gets turned around, it's really one of the worst things. This is one of the most common things that pub carry players and mid players will rage about. You'll see when they support ganks and ends up dying instead of making a kill. I mean, obviously this is a team game. I'm not saying there'll be rage, but it's the reason that people rage about it in pubs is because it's extremely frustrating. What was meant to give you an advantage in your lane actually ends up giving you a disadvantage in your lane, and they needed to get some kind of advantage there. So big win actually for Empire early on in the game.
Yeah, I think it's just very... For London Conspiracy here, it's a difficult game because, as you said, the Empire doesn't have to be forced into fights. You can easily avoid them since you have Chronosphere to solo pick off, or you can pick off someone in the backlines and then win the fight. Kefka taking quite a bit of damage here, gets slowed up. He does manage to throw out the stun. The Rocket Barrage doing a lot of damage and he'll go down. Solon comes in, wants the return kill on Phonic, but the ice shot's off the mark, and that'll be the end of the aggression and sets Empire up nicely for getting this tower in bottom. And now FN in mid can also play more aggressively.
I really like that play from Empire at the bot lane. Like, you could see that they had discussed it or calculated it. Like, as soon as Earthshaker uses Fissure on Fennec, then a low dance phases straight forward at him, because once the Fissure's down, like such a simple kind of equation. How to go
and
Earthshaker with the
Chen
Jackal.
coming from behind onto Baby Knight. Do they have this? The auto attack's doing a good amount of work. Baby Knight bottling up. We'll have an illusion rune in a second, and they back off on this kill.
Dire's bottom tower is under
Yeah,
attack.
and that's again like impressive by Empire. We've seen it a bit in the first game as well. Occasionally, just like holding back, not continuing to go, recognizing that it's not necessary for them to be like all in aggression.
Now this bottom tower is being denied by Kefka, so that's going to be a pretty big win for London Conspiracy considering how this game is going. And bottom tower, not super important to the Dire, the least important of their towers, although it does reduce some Roshan control.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. Getting a deny in a lane where you have very low control over what's going on is very useful. It's almost I don't know. Maybe Empire just didn't check the HP of the tower, realized there was a possibility, because I think that with Liquid Fire, it's actually very easy. It's just going back to all the rest of the tower's HP when it's that low.
They probably just knocked it into deny range with the Liquid Fire, maybe thought that they were like 1 damage off. Not an uncommon mistake we see. Either way, Empire just in this laning phase have already pulled ahead by almost 3,000 net worth, 1.5k experience. They're doing well.
Yep, and there's going to be a smoke from the Tusk and the Oracle onto this mid lane. The third attempt onto the Invoker. So far we've had 2 fails, one of them actually ended in a death. Let's see if they can get third time lucky.
Now, luckily this time the Chen, he was kind of far away. He's actually thinking about rotating back in, and he has that Satal Banisher. Such a strong creep. He's rotating over though, so he's pretty far away. The Invoker out of position. The Ice Shards do miss. They're diving under the tower for this. TP rotation's coming in from the Gyrocopter, who has cooldown. FN getting healed up. The Oracle, it didn't quite work, and now the cooldown being dropped onto Baby Knight. Lots of magic resistance there. They'll at least get Solon on the backlines, and Empire, the Lohardon's going in so hard. Sunstrike doesn't even need it. Biver's gonna fall as well. A complete disaster there for London Conspiracy in the mid lane.
I think Biver misclicked. Like, he definitely cast Fortune's End on one of the Forge Spirits. And I think that, like, with how low FN wins, never mind the disable, that Fortune's End, if it had actually just been on him, probably kills him. So, very unfortunate. Again, I really like how London Conspiracy think about going to that kill. Like, they start by using the Astral on one of the Forge Spirits, and that makes the Invoker confident to run forward because the setup's not there. Then they go in with the Ice Shards and actually catch him out, but I just don't know. That Fortune's End definitely wasn't meant for the creeps. So, unfortunate blunder, and maybe it doesn't end up well for them anyway, but they should have been able to kill the Invoker, at very least.
And the real problem isn't the Invoker any longer. Sure, Invoker's going to get decent timing on that Hand of Midas, but I think the real scary thing here is how big this Gyrocopter is.
And here comes the next rotation. They've decided that Fennec's the hero that they can kill. Fennec is actually rushing at Veil. Not too far from himself. He probably does die here. I don't think...
He's in a lot of trouble. Macropyre or no, going to fall. So they finally get themselves on the board for London Conspiracy, but they have a long road back into this game.
Yeah, and it's the least important hero to kill, really. Least valuable kill they could make, but at least it's something. Baby Knight has a haste in his bottle, so he's thinking about making some kind of rotation.
Yep, It's very hard to find a hero that he can easily go on here. Chen has a lot of creeps to lock down the OD so he's not getting off those arcane orbs. There's the time walk, of course, on the Faceless Void. I don't think you're going to get enough arcane orbs off that the time walk can't be cast. It does feel like your options are kind of Jakiro or Gyrocopter, and they both output a lot of damage when you go rolling into them.
And look, here's Empire just assembling to push tier 1s. And this is like the most... This is the exact position that London Conspiracy don't want to be in, because the heroes are very well equipped to counter-initiate or take the fight, but they're not very well equipped to stall or slow the push. And
Astral Imprisonment on the Satel Banisher. That is how annoying this creep is. For those of you playing at home, it is a Purge 3-second cooldown. It also does a bunch... it's just such a pain. You can cast it so many times.
yeah, lasts 5 seconds and cools down over 3. So that already tells you enough.
Now, they're going to get this tier 2 as well. London Conspiracy, with no blink anywhere in sight for this Earthshaker, really unable to mount a defense.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Yeah. And I think it's intelligence of Empire to have just recognized that if you look at the lineup London Conspiracy has, they're just not in any position to deal with grouping up and pushing all their buildings. And the problem for London Conspiracy is once all the buildings die, once Empire are like 6 towers ahead or 5 towers ahead, then they're going to have such an insurmountable lead that they probably just do win the fights, despite the fact that London Conspiracy have good ways to punish initiations and counter-initiate and save each other.
This Empire looks a lot stronger than what we've seen in the rest of the tournament. When I was casting MDL with 1437, he had mentioned that there are some teams, like Newbie for example, which only play as well as their opponents. Do you think Empire might be having a little bit of that too? Where, because they view LC maybe as a better opponent, or just understood that they might have a harder time against this good of a team, they're actually playing better?
I'm not too sure. It's difficult to say. I mean, like, their players haven't been playing together that long. They've been playing with stand-ins occasionally.
Okay, wait. We have a go on somebody here. Oh, it's gonna be FN. He manages to get off the Ghost Walk. Do they? They do not have detection when attempting to gank that Invoker. Maybe expecting that, like last game, he'd take a really long time to put points into Wex, but he's already level 9.
Bottom tower is under attack.
Yeah, and it's very costly actually, because you're losing your towers no matter what. And you try and you commit 3 heroes to rotation to make an important kill and at least get something. You need to have dust there, I think. I don't think they can afford to connect and not kill.
Dire's top tower has fallen.
But we were talking about Empire maybe playing better because they're up against a better opponent.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Like, I'm not familiar enough with this version of the team. I do agree with you that they certainly look like they're much more convincing today than they were yesterday. But they were also much more convincing yesterday in game 2 than game 1, and that's the game Havos drafted, where in the first game was Fennec drafting, so maybe it's when Havos maybe Havos is just the better drafter. Like, it could also be that the actual, I think No Fear is meant to be the in-game leader. He's back today, so...
Well, they've looked shaky throughout this whole tournament. They've been losing a lot of early game. There's going to be Macropyre dropped. Jakiro actually in a bit of trouble, going to get snowballed in on no TP away, and this should be a kill for London Conspiracy. Funnick going down, but again, one of the least important heroes, and he's taking so long to die with that heal up. Joe could be farming this whole time, but he's just smacking away at Funnick.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you said. They've been struggling all tournament, but like, has Havos been drafting all tournaments, or
no? It has
only
been No Fear. And so
yeah,
I wonder which of these factors causes the change.
Because that's, I mean, you know what, it might be that yesterday they were like, let's just try out other drafters while No Fear's not here. And then the game where Havos drafted, it went so well that even though he's back, they're like, oh, this guy must just keep drafting, because that seems to work well for us. And that could very well be like, sometimes the simple explanations are wrong, but sometimes they really just are right. So, I mean,
It
What
could
I
just be
said
that
is so
Havost is.
simple.
Yeah, sorry. You're right. It could just be that Havost drafting maybe something that's more comfortable for the whole team. And as you pointed out, Havost, we've seen him play offlane. In a lot of the other games this tournament, he's come into the mid-game phase with 5 deaths or so on the offlane. Being able to draft a lineup which gives him more support puts pressure elsewhere, so the supports are forced to rotate like they were in this game to gank FN to deal with the Chen ganks. Frees up a lot more space for Havost to not lose that early lead.
It's like, and it's like if the drafter is one of the core players, there's more responsibility on that player always, because there's this weird like implicit tension that if your lane is difficult, you can just like, oh, it's the draft. Why did my drafter put me into a difficult lane? But when you're drafting for yourself, you'll find a way to not feed, because you kind of know that when you do feed, that's just you. And so I think it's definitely like, if we talk about a major concern for them in the last week or so being that he's been struggling to not die a lot in lanes, it definitely makes a lot of sense to me for him to be the drafter, just to eliminate that concern at least.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, all of these factors, but either way, Empire, they are ready to go for the high ground. Aloha Dance, he's not even super, I mean, he's pretty dang farmed, but he's not like super scarily farmed, because we're 15 minutes in and they're working on a high ground push. Now, they are very close to the blink on the Earthshaker. They will not know that this is coming. He will have it in about 5 seconds, and this could be the big turning point for London Conspiracy. If they can get off the Echo Slam of Dreams, it's difficult with the Aegis, since I think Aloha Dance will be the only one up, but it's hope, you know?
And Chen's got Mech and Hound of God, so it's... If Empire play their cards correctly, they probably can win a fight even through a big Echo Slam.
They do
But
manage to pick up the
that's actually very good for London
Gyrocopter.
Conspiracy. Yeah, that's... Getting rid of the edges without even committing the Echo Slam is really big.
And now for Empire, they do have Liquid Fire, so they can really slow siege this. The tower will go down, but they're unable to get the deny. Rax exposed. Funnick can, with Liquid Fire and a couple pushes, will be able to bring down that ranged Rax at the very least. Jug is still farming on the top lane though. They have a ward inside of the base. It is seen by the sentry. They just haven't had an opportunity to de-ward it. Uphill miss from the Liquid Fire for Funnick, but he'll come up this time, working on that range tracks. The TP back from Jug. It looks like they're gonna be going in for it. Earthshaker very far on the top side. Kind of an odd play since they can see this ward and they haven't de-warded it, but maybe, yeah, Jalopy will head on over now. And they should know about the blink.
Though. Yep, his blink was spotted, they pinged him out at a certain point, the post was, I
Oh,
think, suggesting...
Funnick is caught inside in the ice shard. He starts getting smacked into. There's going to be a nice Chronosphere onto 2. Hand of God comes out. Funnick's still not dead, and now Solon also going down the Omni Slash. It only hits a couple of them. Jalopy not going to go down. Echo Slam, it locks a lot of them down, but immediately Kefka caught out there by the ice pass, and now they're trying to do the turnaround. There's a snowball in. They'll at least find the Chen, but it is not enough. That ranged Rax very easily going to go down here. Solon getting chased a little bit, but they don't even care. They have bigger fish to fry. Rax going down 16 minutes in, and they might be able to get both here. The OD very low, needs to heal up. Gyrocopter actually falls to the Tusk. So another big win for London Conspiracy, and they may not get both racks. Jalopy coming back out of here. Has the spin up. Tusk being slowed by that sigil. He does, of course, have the veil. Doesn't help a huge amount here. He will fall. So a really nice hold from London Conspiracy.
It's pretty big that the OD doesn't die. So the chrono actually hit the OD as well, so there was 3 in the chrono, all within the cooldown. I'm not sure if the cooldown was on the OD too, or just the other 2 who did die. But a Faceless Void who doesn't have blink yet, catching a chrono that's on 3 people is really good. It's also maybe speaks to London Conspiracy being, you know, in that desperate position where they need to all be close enough to cast their spells and then get caught bunched together. But because the OD lives and gets to come back, London Conspiracy have the confidence to like, okay, Chen's out, heal's gone, our cores are actually all alive, we can like turn this around and go and fight, and they make a bunch of kills. You're right, it's the gyro kill especially quite a big one. It's an important hold, and bear in mind this is a game where OD bought Midas, so each time they hold, especially if the OD lives, that can farm into like something else for that OD. I think the entire drum is finished now, and if they hold again and the OD lives, it's whatever other item comes next.
They do manage to get a nice fish of Funnick again in the danger zone. This poor guy seems to be going down all the time, taking extra magical damage because of that Ghost Scepter. Jalopy gonna run on out. Havost coming forwards, gets off the time dilation. Snowball off to the sidelines. OD puts Havost in an astral imprisonment, but Aloha Dawn's on the front lines. Fissure gonna stop him from doing any more damage. Does have those flat cannon shots, is hitting from way away. Manages to kill off the frozen sigil. Baby Knight now in a lot of trouble being chased out. Can they catch him? They use the Chronosphere just for him. The Sunstrike will be coming out. Baby Knight taking a lot of damage. Rocket Barrage. False Promise comes out though now, and now he can smack away at them some. He kills off one. He kills off two. Is he finding more? No Fear isn't going to fall yet. Baby Knight finally goes down, but Jalopy on the case. He throws out the Troll Summoner. Jalopy does have the spin, of course, so No Fear knows not to net him up. Does get someone in the back lines, but No Fear gonna fall as well. And London Conspiracy 3 for 1.
Yeah, so this is, I've been praising Empire in Game 1 and Game 2 about showing composure, not being more aggressive than they need to, executing the plan they need to, which are the things that all the like top CIS teams have been doing recently, like Virtus Pro, like Vega. But right now, in this last 5 minutes passage of play, Empire have really kind of like thrown that all out the window and just gone kind of full gung-ho, let's just fight, let's just do things. And we spoke so much about how London Conspiracy's heroes are actually very, very well suited to dealing with that. They've got, all of their heroes have ways to heal each other or save each other or protect each other. And so if Empire's plan is just kind of free fall, let's cast our spells and chase and see what happens, they're gonna get punished over and over. So they need to, I mean, it's still, I think Empire still have a significant lead. If you look at the metrics, you can see, okay, actually the XP's gone back LC's way, but in terms of the gold, they still have a pretty good lead. But they need to have some kind of important conversation about, like, we were doing the right thing, we got a bit carried away, let's, like, focus on what we need to do, because another 5 minutes, which were like the last 5 minutes, and suddenly London Conspiracy could be far ahead in this game.
I think it's really important to mention that Empire, they do have the net worth lead, but they are behind in experience. This is what happens when you group up. Your cores aren't off farming. Gyrocopter, he already has maxed out flat cannon, but more points in that cooldown, always helpful, and of course the stats. And an Aether Lens about to be up on the Oracle. When we take a look at some of these supports, right, that your supports on Empire, who are so ostensibly ahead, are still only equal levels with London Conspiracies. It's getting scary.
Yeah, and the dynamic's been set since the start of the game that Empire could be in trouble if they try to force the fights, especially if they have to chase awkwardly to force them. But London Conspiracy were in a lot of trouble in terms of actually just defending straight up pushes without the fights. And Empire were doing the right thing, they were going for the pushes until at a certain point they just, I guess they felt too comfortable, too confident, and sort of two sequences of events in a row where it feels like they took their hands off the wheel and just waited to see what would happen, and as it happens, it wasn't very good things that happened.
Yeah, they have another opportunity here. They are still pretty far ahead. They have some big wombo combo. They're looking like they're going in for it. They could have actually just waited for the Roche respawn timer. It's a short one. But
yeah,
they're poking at it. Yeah, it looks like they're backing out.
They'd like to get another rush. They'd also really want their Void to get a Blink Dagger, because the one really good fight for them, even though it didn't end up being that good, the start of that fight was really good, was when Void managed to get a really nice chrono off. Because that's, you know, we can say that London Conspiracy have all these heroes that save each other, but if you catch 3 of them in a chronosphere together, it's not a lot of saving that's going to be happening. It's only the 2 outside that can do anything at all. But until Void gets Blink, you really can't reliably expect to get good chronos.
And they have backed out on Empire, foaming up all of the team together for London Conspiracy. They do have smokes at the ready. Do you try to make a play, get a pick off to delay the next push, or do you just wait for your awesome high ground defense to kick in again?
A pick off would be nice, and it's definitely something they're capable of doing. But they need to be careful about doing it, I suppose, because if it backfires, like when they were going for those mid ganks earlier on, it's really, really bad. Like the last thing you want is, because the fact that London Conspiracy's heroes are all good at saving each other, if you split off into like smaller groups to go for a pick-off, you can end up being punished for that, and then suddenly you've given them pick-offs and given them an opportunity to push. So maybe the safer route for London Conspiracy is just to sit tight for now. And I mean, so far when they've been sitting tight and letting Juggernaut split push occasionally, everyone else just defend, they've actually started coming back into the game with that approach.
Yeah, things may be about to change though. The BKB is up on Aloha Dance. Invoker doesn't have one yet, but has finished off that Aghanim Scepter and the Blink Dagger. This team fight potential from Empire growing every time we see them, and they actually go for the smoke.
Yeah, Havos still hasn't finished his Blink though, he's getting pretty close to it. remarkably, he's actually the least farmed hero on his team. Part of that is that his two supports are both very farmed, but okay, he's just overtaken both of
They're
them as I say
swapping.
that.
Yeah, I mean, it's very close. And Havos blink timing will actually be remarkably close to the Aegis. Or the Roche respawn.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they're able to get the rush and the blink on the void, they're looking pretty good again. Speaking of blinks, Juggernaut blinks away with his newly brandished blink.
He doesn't matter if he blinks away though, he's gonna have to use up that spin. Fissure comes out as well. Empire, no, they're in the driver's seat still. Taking full advantage of that, and they even have some split pushing going on. Funnick in the top lane, not feeling worried at all. Both sides have to know that Roche is the big objective here. And we can see a lot of posturing outside.
Baby Knight's got pretty much an entire BKB. Yep, it's on the way to him. That's pretty big as well, the Juggernaut's blink and the OD's BKB. So I actually wonder if Lana Conspiracy might want to just contest the rush here. I think they can. They've got level 2 Earthshaker ulti with the blink dagger. And here comes the smoke, and this could be a big fight for Lana Conspiracy actually.
They've gone, as you said, for the smoke, and the Roche is nowhere near dying. We'll see if London Conspiracy can get it done. Kefka trying to make sure his smoke isn't broken by them. They don't know. It's only Aloha Dance in the pit. The Fissure comes out. They should know on Empire that there is some shenanigans going on. The smoke has been mostly broken now. OD also showing himself. Oh gosh, they're going to catch Funnick out on the sidelines here. Jakiro in a lot of trouble. Has dropped the macro pie. Immediately uses that Ghost Scepter. Cannot be Omni/Havos. Desperately looking for an ult. But he can't find it here. There's going to be a mess of a team fight. One Astral imprisoned up. Aloha Dance is chasing. Has a rocket coming out onto Solon, taking a lot of damage. But BKB, pop by Baby Knight, Echo Slam, blocking down Havos. There will be no Chronosphere here. Omni/Slash going around. Kefka taking a lot of damage from Aloha Dance, but immediately the false promise comes out. Funnick dead. FN already dead on the sidelines. Funnick going down. Called out onto Baby Knight. They'll catch out one here. They can also maybe catch out Biva. Isn't able to die to creeps there. Biva now going to take some damage here from the Gyrocopter coming back in, but it is Jalopy 1v1 against the Gyrocopter. Just going for the TP out, actually. He is not ready to stand and fight. And despite how scrappy that engagement was, Empire managed to take it.
Yeah, Lana Conspiracy managed to deal with the void, and I think it's probably a mistake from the positioning in that fight. Like, once he uses his first blink and time walk and can't find a chrono, he probably needs to pull back and wait for the cooldown for time walk and blink. And just kind of charging in, he ends up dying without getting a chronosphere off. But the issue is that Lana Conspiracy actually used too much, I think. The OD's BKB and ulti really just contributed to killing the void. And so it was difficult for them to deal with the Gyrocopter, which they've actually had, they've done a good job of dealing with the Gyrocopter the previous two times that they held so well. So, I mean, yeah, it's great to not get chronoed, it's great to kill the void before he chronos, but you also need to have that plan for the Gyrocopter.
I think part of the difficulty, of course, being that they didn't have vision here. They had to have a blink in, which did hit Forged Spirits and Havost, but that's not enough for the point where London Conspiracy is. On the upside, their bottom lane is pushed out quite far. It's going to take a while for them to get to top. Maybe somehow London Conspiracy can buy themselves 60 seconds to have the Echo Slam back up.
I wonder if that's something that Empire have marked down. And that's a Chen Aghanim Scepter, which we haven't seen as much of since the nerf, but it's still really good once you get it and start getting those ancient creeps. It does give that whole new level to the pushing ability. Like, doesn't buff the heal anymore really, but yeah, it doesn't buff the heal anymore at all. But it does give you ancient creeps, which are going to be very, very useful for pushing.
You've had more opportunities to talk to the players than I have. Do you know? If I've always assumed that at this level of play you mark down timers of things like Omni/Slash, but some of it might just be done, as we've discussed, by kind of feel. You've played against it so much, you don't actually take down the timer even though you know the exact cooldown of Ravage. Do you know what players do exactly there?
Every team writes Rush, and some teams write big ultis, but like not consistently. It's really not. It's like something that distinguishes a team if they've got a player who writes all the big ultis every game. That's like, it's actually part of the discussion people are having about like, should teams have coaches, should there be analysts that can like help in the game. You know, it might be an issue. Like in League and in Counter-Strike, there's been increasing usage of coaches inside games and inside drafts. And one of the things people have talked about is that if your coach could talk to you during the game, maybe they could do that. They could be the person who writes those things down, because I think you're right. I think it's mostly players do most of that stuff on feel. With like, when there's one really important ulti, like the Silencer ulti or Tyrants or something, then you probably you want someone to be writing it down. But I think even at the top level, maybe it's not always done. Maybe usually done.
Well, I know that Oh, there was just a
Rush is
discussion
the only thing that.
about like players being allowed to bring notes into matches. At Valve official events, they're allowed to bring paper notes in, which is meant to be for drafting. But I can see it also as being an easier way. I mean, you can also just write it in the like chat or whatever. But that sparked me thinking about all of this because I imagine, like, I know people write it in my matches, even at my only mid 4K level. We write down that in matches.
The notepad can be useful though because you end up. Like you have to scroll up
Yeah,
to find
exactly.
it all the time.
That's why I was thinking the paper notes actually help a lot since obviously they take away phones and everything. But let's get back into this one. We're going to be seeing the high ground push is coming out. They have bought enough time for an Echo Slam to be there. Empire actually pretty close together. They are going to just get this tower through the liquid fire. Sunstrike just casually scouting there. And no fear. Does he have a good creep around here? He doesn't have one right now. See him maybe get some. Havos did not leave him any. Oh, they're joke.
I kind of like this. Lowdown's TP's out, goes back to farm, everyone's leaving. I like that they're not pushing it too far because last time I do feel like it was maybe a bit of an issue that Empire was so carried away with how good their position was that they ended up blowing the gyrocopter Aegis without really achieving anything. Like they just wanted to keep going, and then the Earthshaker didn't even have to use his ulti, Gyro had to use Aegis, and that was before that fight where it looked good but then wasn't actually that good for Empire at the mid Raxes.
Yeah, Solon gonna just be poking around. He has finished up some boots. We haven't exactly had much to talk about item-wise because, of course, Empire are still pretty far ahead when it comes to net worth, and now they've taken the experience lead. But Baby Knight has that finished BKB, the drums. He's got a lot of gold saved up, probably at the stage where you have to worry about buyback and your next items.
The Juggernaut is incredibly farmed. Like, most farmed hero in the game actually. Very, very strong. Difficult to imagine what the plan is for Empire to deal with the Juggernauts unless they manage to like chrono him and invoke him. So that's actually maybe one of the very big pluses for Lana Conspiracy right now, that Empire don't have a whole lot of different solutions for how to control or lock down a super farm Juggernaut.
Additionally, London Conspiracy, I think, doing a good thing here. They've picked up a gem. It's always good to have. They need to make sure that they have map vision so that Juggernaut can keep farming up a storm like this. But here comes the push. Aloha Dance just working on that tier 3. I'm not sure if they'll go for the racks here or if they'll just back out after the tier 3. Chen is coming in the backlines. Aloha Dance working on that ranged racks. And they may just apply pressure that way. Baby Knight coming in and starting to get those astral stacks up. We'll see if he can get more. There's going to be an ice path out on him. The fire, the ignite coming out from the black dragon fireball. And now Aloha Dance actually going on the melee racks. Jalopy coming in. There's going to be Aloha Dance taking quite a bit of damage from the spin, but they've already gotten one with the flag cannon. Baby Knight now incredibly low, taking a lot of damage. He will fall here, despite having that false promise in the double heal. The cooldown will blow up the next person, and suddenly, despite such a farm Jug, there's not much it looks like he can do. They're just getting the racks for free, and now they'll back away. Jalopy coming in, gets up the Omni Slash Echo Slam off the BKBs used on Aloha Dance, but the entire Omni Slash stopped by a Ghost Scepter. Norfia may still die, but Jalopy, his effectiveness completely reduced. Rampage coming out for the Gyrocopter, and now they're just gonna stand and fight head to head with Jalopy. A beautiful Chronosphere catches out too, and this looking like it may be the last legs of game 2. A double Rampage for the Gyrocopter at mid-racks. Easy to get now.
Yeah, it's both the OD and the Juggernauts are both really strong, but the Juggernaut's Omni Slash gets Ghost Sceptered, and OD's had to buy back, like the first OD life did nothing.
Yeah.
That's, I think, really like the fact that OD was standing in the front lines, managed to get caught out, and sure, Oracle saves the OD for a while, but now OD doesn't want to use BKB, doesn't want to commit to everything because you know you're gonna die, you're gonna have to be buyback. I just think the fact that the OD got so destroyed before the fight even really started is just too much of an issue, and then on top of that, add the Juggernaut's Omni Slash doesn't connect. Like, they had some tools, Lana Conspiracy, but they didn't manage to put any of those tools to use in that defense, and just like that, we go from like a bit of a standoffish situation to the entire game ending.
Yeah, one little mistake can go that way. I mean, also unlucky bounces from the Jug, but you can argue No Fear doing a good job of pulling him away from the rest of the team and using that Ghost Scepter. So, really well played there from Empire. This one, a very dominant victory for them. We'll see whether they can take it as a 3-0 clean sweep, because they are just one game away in this best of 5 from taking the whole thing. So, folks, I'm Llama Down Under. I've been joined by Scant. We can both be found on Twitter by those names. Hit us up with any and all feedback on the casting, how to make it more enjoyable for you, and we'll see you in maybe the final Game 3. Please enjoy the short wait.